Hi, it's Jane, and on today's WOTWIP and Coffee, I don't have coffee, I have water. I am crocheting just some basic little bags with that Yarn Bee Antoinette. It's kind of a nubby yarn. Can you see that? Nubby. It's one of those when you're crocheting you really can't see your stitches. So I am crocheting some purses. Just some basic little purses for some little girls, to go in the Operation Christmas Child bags. So I think I maybe chain 20 stitches at that, and then just work a flat panel and make it a flap basically. Now, I kind of hesitated about whether talking about this today, but I'm going to. This yarn is what I am doing the project out of totes to start my totes series. And the item that was most voted on for me to make was a garment. So I am choosing a stitch right now, and I'm using the 200 crochet stitches by Tracy Todd Hunter. This is the one, the Battle of the Stitches, is using the book. And I think I'm going back and forth between using the Marguerite stitch, and then what was the other stitch? Well, I had 2 stitches picked out, now I can't find them. Oh, I know where it's at. It's further back here. And one of the other ones that I thought about doing was the garland lace. They consider using that mostly for garments and other things like that. But anyway, I'm trying to decide whether I want to use that or use a different stitch. But right now, I am thinking about using the Marguerite stitch. It is a nice little stitch, and that is the stitch there in itself. So I am in the process of doing all the measuring that I need to do to make a garment. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to make. I do have another stitch that I'm thinking about making if I choose to do the other garment, because I only have 4 full cakes of these and then 1 that is partial. So I don't think that I could get, like a cardigan with sleeves. So I was kind of thinking about making a vest. So we'll see. I plan on starting that this weekend. So by Monday, you will get to see what I actually do choose. Now, I love all things Operation Christmas Child. That's one of my passions. So I was at Walmart, and they had these light-up yo-yos. Normally, there's 4 in a pack, and they're like, I think they're $2. Well, there was only 3 in this pack, so I got it for $1. And then, of course, I made my stop at CVS to use all those coupons. Picked up Tie Beanie Baby, the turtle. And then another little gray striped kitty backpack thing. The two of these with my coupons, I had to pay 52 cents. So, you know, it really broke the bank there. Stopped at Dollar Tree. I had to get some birthday cards. And of course, you know, they had some more of these lovely little things that they do because they like to suck you in at Christmas, Valentine's Day, any time of the year. But before, I don't remember getting the monkey. So I picked up those two little best friend monkeys. And then they had these were new in mine. So they had the kitty cat. These are nice sized stuffies. They had the dinosaur, which I think is absolutely adorable. And they had the puppy dog. So I picked it up. Is that puppy dog? Yep, puppy dog. Different type of puppy dog. And I'm not real sure what this is supposed to be. Part of me says donkey, but I don't know. I don't know about that. And then they had some pencil sharpeners, and I like to put those in the pencil packs. So I pick them up year round when they have them, each different season. Just toss into the pencil pack. Now mine don't always have these lovely first aid kits, but I needed a first aid kit for my car. So they finally had them in. So I picked that up and it'll go out into the car. But yeah, that's kind of it for that part of the shopping. So now we'll get to the talking part, where we just chit-chat while we crochet. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. Let me get a sip here. Besides running the cats crazy around the house. They've reached that age that I call being bored. So they need a lot of stimulation. So we're doing a lot of game playing, tossing things left and right, making toys for them. And let me tell you, the more you give, the more they want. Ronan especially, the more pets and attention he gets, the more he wants. Not that I have spoiled cats or anything, but yeah, so they do get a little bit more attention these days. And I almost think I need to get one of those games, one of those cat games that the mouse runs around, pops up and down different little tracks to keep him busy. He is the worst of the two. Is he lately? If I go out of the room, she comes looking for me. And I don't know what that's about either. But whatever. They're just cats being cats. So I don't know why I'm surprised at that. But I gotta tell you, sometimes they're a bit cantankerous in everything that they're doing, getting into. And I have to keep hiding that pin cushion. It looks like a flower. My sewing room pin cushion, because Izzy keeps hunting it down to bring it out. And I'm not going to empty it at the pins. What I've been trying to do is to make sure that when I get through in the sewing room, that I actually put it into a drawer, close the drawer so she can't get into it. Although, thought I had it in the drawer yet last night. And she came into the bedroom this morning carrying it. So either I did not put it away, or I didn't shut the drawer, or this stinking cat has learned how to open the drawer. Haven't been back there to see it. Today is one of my busy days for the early part of the morning. So, been out busy doing things. I do think it's interesting. All this stuff that's going around, it's crazy. I don't know if any of you have followed Allie Carter. Allie Carter is someone who is, from what I understand, naming names of those who were at Diddy's parties and all the things that happened there, which from what I understand, she has a pretty good idea what happened there. But she's also made a couple of statements about things that would be happening in the U.S. Sorry about that, had the battery die. But she'd also made a prediction about some of these things like the Pacific Palisades fire happening for a lot of reasons. Apparently there was talk about getting ready for the 2028 Olympics, which that was going to be in the Pacific Palisades area, that they would need to clear a lot of those places in order to build what was needed for the games. And she talked about that they would get some fires started, most especially during the Santa Ana winds, which are right now. And they are making the fire impossible to contain there. So I just found that interesting, to see that. And what I thought was interesting is I have a cousin. We weren't real close, but, we did have a lot of time together when I was living in Fort Smith, Arkansas for quite a while when I was a teenager. And I used to babysit them every once in a while for my aunt. But he is a writer, has written a couple of books. But throughout his travels, he's been one of those types of people that he likes to get out there and see a lot of different things around the country. He likes to do these experience trips, where you're getting experience, not just for whatever. He and his son have been out to a couple of the different places for the solar eclipses, just a lot of things. And for a while there, he was delivering trailers to all over the country as part of a way for making a living. But he got, along his travels, meeting all the different people he has met along the way, he got an offer, or was able to get into a little experience where he gets to act in a movie. And they were staying in the Altadena area. I think that was the other area of concern for the fires, and they did get evacuated to Chino, California. But he's out there during that time, and that was kind of strange because his wife back home and his other son in Fort Worth, Texas, were experiencing the snow and ice. So, here he was getting the fire and the wind, and his wife was getting the snow and ice. So it's kind of interesting that the way that worked out. But as part of his experience, he likes to always go and see different things of historical value. So while he was out there, he went out to the Reagan library. And that's another thing on his bucket list he was able to mark off. But he had posted yesterday a picture of him standing near, I don't know if it was a photo of Elvis, and I believe it's at the Reagan Library. I think that's where it was. And which wouldn't be unusual because Reagan would have probably crossed paths with Elvis, during their acting days, if you want to call Elvis an actor. But he was there on what would have been his 90th birthday, so he took a picture in that area. So it's just a lot of fun to see his travels, as he goes through life, all the different things that he does. And he is a nude model for artists at several of the universities back in the Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas area. So it's a lot braver than I am with that being, nude, doing those kind of things. But he has a very interesting life. So I just thought that was interesting, that all of this around that Palisades and everything that I've been hearing and things that Allie Carter had predicted. And there's also a big lithium supposedly deposited in that area, so they're wanting to get a hold of it. And of course, we know how FEMA responds these days. Hopefully it'll be a better response than what they have currently, We still have people from Helene that are homeless and living in tents and whatnot, trying to survive. Which, it's 3-4 months later? That shouldn't be happening in America. And then on top of that, you've got, Biden giving another $500 million to Ukraine. Kind of crazy. But I just found that interesting, to see all that and then to know my cousin was in that area at the time. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out of all of that. And I have to laugh because I think, people just don't understand some of the things that Trump does. Trump kind of plays a game of chess, which, if you can follow some of what he's doing, a lot of it is in order to get better trade deals, those kind of things. Like the whole thing about making Canada the 51st state. People don't understand that some of what that is about the oil that is there. They don't understand the same thing, about the whole thing with Greenland. It is from a better security position, but a lot of that also has to do with trade. So, of course, the whole thing with the Panama Canal, they have completely abandoned the deal that was made, which I find it interesting that the president that signed it away and gave it away is lying in state at the Capitol right now, President Carter. Just find that interesting, how the Panama Canal has come back up. And, they aren't following the deal that we made when we gave up control of the Panama Canal. Of course, a lot of people don't understand in that treaty, whatever you want to call it, there was always the option for America to simply take it back. So, I just find it interesting because people don't understand that kind of chess game. They can't even begin to understand that kind of strategy. So, and yeah, some of it I think he does just simply to give the left something to whine and moan about and create false stories about. So, I just hope that these Congress people would start doing what is in the best interest of Americans. To help us feel a little bit safer in our everyday lives, instead of doing what's best for their pocketbooks. And I always find it interesting that, people lots of times when it comes to religion always bring up Thomas Jefferson with separation of church and state. And that wasn't what that letter was about, but a lot of people mistake what they understand the letter to be about. But then they overlook the whole thing about what he talked about in the form of people being well-armed citizens, was to make sure that tyranny from government didn't take place, and that we always had an out to take our government out if they chose to do things for themselves rather than for the people. You can't quote the man for one thing and then ignore all the other things that he talked about. Safety issues, those kind of things. And the fact that he also was one of the few people with the Declaration that felt like senators, Congress people should only get paid for the days that they were in session. And they were only in session, I think it was 30 days every 6 months, that they did not feel that they should be given a salary, that their income should be solely based on whatever they did at home for their regular way of earning wages in life. But they would be given a stipend for each day that they were actually active in Congress. And at that time, like I said, I think it was only 30 days every 6 months or every 3 months. It wasn't long. It wasn't, year-round like they are now. But could you imagine if we went back to something like that? Of course, back then, bills weren't, 1,600 pages. They might be 3 or 4 pages long. I think the longest bill in 1800s was 20 pages. And Congress was bent out of shape about that. But then again, they didn't do a lot of things, that were bartering for each congressperson's state so that they could have a spinach museum and, all these other kind of things, like the Alaska Bridge to Nowhere. But it's kind of strange how far we've gotten away from things that actually were done. They probably benefited citizens much better than what our current Congress does. And I don't know about you, but I think since this whole Affordable Care Act has been enacted, I think our health care has gotten worse. in the U.S. Have insurance companies that are able to say no for a lot of things, and I don't think that's what the actual premise around the Affordable Health Care Act was about. But it seems like nowadays you pay for stuff that you never see happen. And I think I had gotten prescription filled the other day, and I was surprised that I had a copay, and it was a copay of about $30. And actually I was paying for the whole thing. And I told her, I said, you know, I understood that this was a tier 1 drug and that the cost for it was $0. And she said, well, you probably have a deductible. I said, well, when I signed up for it, there was no deductible. So still have to get in contact with the insurance company and find out what that was about. But yeah, I'm just surprised at some of this. The way that this affordable health care was promised to us, and none of it has come about. None of it really has helped anyone. So it's certainly gotten a lot more expensive. Kind of like things, you know, with the avian flu. Eggs are outrageous. I'd gotten eggs last week, and the eggs were $3 something for a dozen eggs. Well, I'd used those eggs up and went to go get more eggs yesterday, and they were like $4.53 for 12 eggs. Like, here we go again. And then there's a part of me that goes, are they destroying the entire flock of chickens just because they're afraid of avian flu? Or did they actually detect avian flu, bird flu, and then dispose of the chickens? I mean, you know, how do you determine whether you're going to get rid of an entire flock of chickens? And I don't know. Just seems a little on the crazy end of it. And if you destroy all the chickens, how are you going to get more chicks? But we have modern day science, so who knows? Maybe they've figured out a way to clone everything. Maybe cloning is the problem. I don't know. Seems a little crazy. So what kind of projects are you working on this week? Like I said, I've been working on, you know, doing a couple of purses just because it was a good way to use up this yarn, because you can't really see the stitches. You have to feel for them, and that's what I'm doing with that one finger, is feeling for the next stitch to put in the stitch. And I don't know why I thought getting this yarn was a good idea. I have a feeling that I thought simply because it's marked down. It's on clearance. I should get it. How many times do we do that and then think, what am I going to make with this yarn? Think I need to change my mindset around that and, you know, determine a little bit better projects in the future purchases of yarn, which will be few and sparingly. that I should really watch what I am doing when I am picking up clearance yarns. Some clearance yarns, I'm like, yeah, I'd use that all the time. Something like this Antoinette, I don't know why I even thought it was a good idea to pick it up. It almost reminds me of Hellspun. So, yeah, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to pick this up, to get this yarn. But I think next time, if I come across clearance yarns, it'll help me remember to think a little more clearly about, will I really use that yarn? Am I just getting it because it's marked down and I have FOMO? Everybody else is getting yarn. You guys don't do that, do you? Surely not. Yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit better about my, purchasing yarns in the future. Of course, with that tote series, I don't think I'll be buying yarn for quite a few years. So that'll be a good thing. I did enjoy, I hope you went over and you saw Cheryl's video about her getting into the totes and working through her tote series. And I told you, we all get to have different rules. We make our rules. And, my goal was to get into some of these yarns and to use them and to quit just hoarding them. That was my goal. Like I said, my low buy was simply an idea that if I had to absolutely finish another project, if I couldn't supply a different yarn in there and had to buy that yarn to finish the project, then yeah, I could buy the yarn. But my whole idea was to use up my stash. But I think it's a great idea just to get into your stash, see what you have and use it up. Don't let it sit there and languish. I have a friend I was talking with today earlier. She told me she's got a room that's just got all kinds of yarn. And she hasn't been knitting, crocheting, and has no interest in it. And I thought, well, if you don't want it, let me take it off your hands or give it to the Parish Home Ministry and they'll take care of it. They'll use it up. But I don't think she's ready for that at that point. So, we sat and we had a good talk. We laughed, joked, talked for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it was a good visit with her. And I keep thinking I need to do that more often. Because I don't see her as much as I used to. And I miss that. She is one of the good people, to be around. So, whoops, coming up on the end of my yarn. Gotta get another ball. So, yeah. But I hope you've gone over to see what she plans on doing with hers and how she plans on using it up. Like I said, there are no hard rules for anyone. Do what you want. But like I said, the idea was for me to get my yarn used up, and so it's not just sitting there, in my hoarder's nest. basically was my theory. But I'm excited to see what Cheryl does with hers. I do know that she had talked about hers is going to be a low buy year for her, and that is perfectly okay. Like I said, we all get to make our own rules around this. I hope that you would decide to use up some of your stash, share with all of us what you're doing with it, what you are making, those kind of things. It's always fun to see what's going on. So I'm also looking at the next, in that part of the stash with the tote series, some of the different things that I will be using in that one tote to determine to use it up. That is my goal, to use up that tote. I would like to think I could get it all done in a month. I know that's impossible, but it'll be fun to see how fast we can work. I say we because I'm taking you along with me. How fast I can get that tote worked up and empty, or at least mostly empty. And I had pretty much decided that with the leftover scraps that are in there, that I would probably make granny squares and just save those granny squares to make an afghan at the end of the year. Maybe 2 afghans. Who knows? Maybe 6. Just want to make sure that I'm getting some of that yarn used up. And I laughed because when I talked about the black, not being able to set the black or the white aside, for joining or whatever, or accent colors, I thought, well, I could always, when I did that, if I opened up the black tote, I could always, just do my normal thing with a scrap afghan or scrapgan and just crochet, my different cakes with the black yarn. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have been outside in the cold, and of course, the cold affects my vocal cord, and not really sure why it does that. I did have a speech therapist tell me she thinks what happens is my vocal cords get stiff and dry with the moisture, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But she said she thinks that's what happens, and that's why, like what I'm talking to you right now, I feel like my voice is straining. So, and that comes with the cold weather. So, I'm curious what you guys think about all this that's going on in the world today. Do you think we're all going nutsos? I keep hearing all these crazy things, and I think about the Korean airliner that all but 2 people survived it. Had all these issues coming in to land, and they were grateful that they were landing, and then it runs into a fence at the end of the runway and explodes. And only 2 people survived it. And I'm thinking, that has to be something that those people that did survive probably have a lot of guilt about surviving. and how they deal with those kind of things that happen. And they were probably relieved as they were landing and things were going well. And then boom, all of a sudden. So yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about all the types of disasters that have happened within just 8 days of the new year. It's crazy, It seems odd to see that many in just 8 days. But yeah, what are you looking forward to the most this year? You looking forward to a better year? You're looking forward to less stress in your life? You name it. Oh, I did want to tell you I've also decided that for the tote projects, I am going to sit down and write down a couple of ideas of things to make during this tote series, put them in a bowl so that when it comes time for you guys to vote, I can pull 3 or 4 of those things out of the bowl to list those, and then you decide what one project you think I should make. And then I will work on some of the other projects I have in mind for some of these yarns. And we'll kind of go from there, see how that works out. But I thought I would throw that in there because otherwise I can see the I don't know where that stopped at. But I figured that way when I go to put in the post for the community post where you get to decide, that it wouldn't be the same thing every month. There would possibly be something different to vote on each month. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, to kind of help with that. So I'm not having to constantly make garments. I don't mind making garments. It's just garments normally take a little bit longer. But the other thing is, what are you looking forward to in this next year? Do you have some kind of goal in mind for your year? Some of us just want to survive it. I know that for sure. So, yeah. And speaking of Elvis, my son called me and he said, "So Mom, what do you think about that guy that they did the DNA testing on him and it shows that he is Elvis?" And I said, "What are you talking about? Have you guys heard about that? Have I gone to research it? No. Have I heard about it? Yes. Do I want to go find out what it's about? Yes." So I'll be doing that shortly, just because I'm nosy. I'm always interested in those kind of things. It's kind of like the one of the Bible studies that I am going to right now. We are watching the third year, season 3 of The Chosen, and then discussing, some of the things out of it that are biblical and about the story with it. And we talked about today how we have some members who are not coming to the Bible study because The Chosen is not biblically correct. And I can understand that, but I think it can be used as a tool. I mean, let me see if I can put it this way. I think someone who has never been exposed to Jesus Christ or know anything about him, when they see the chosen, they might be curious to see who Jesus was. And they may wonder about things when they realize this is talking about stories about the people that were in the Bible, not what was going on, not Jesus's ministry itself, but also the people and the relationships with the people that are involved in the series of The Chosen. I think that it can lead people to Christ, that it may make them more curious to get to know a little bit more about what this Bible story is about. So they may open their Bible and find Christ through it. And we had talked about that today, but we had also talked about the some of the things that you are able to get out of the different sections of the series. Like we're actually on the second story, second part of that series. And the whole message for me throughout the whole thing was, many of us have faith in Christ, have faith in God. But when you look at what everything that the apostles gave up to serve God, they gave up a lot. And nowadays, today, we don't always give up those things. You know, we're a little less apt to give up everyday things and, you know, move on to help others the way that the disciples did. And so that's a little bit of a different area for many of us to experience. And I think, like with this second video in this third season, it kind of brought out the whole idea of just trusting God, being able to fully trust God. And many of us want to fully trust God, but we don't always trust Him fully. So I think that was a big message out of that, you know, second story in the story there. But I always find it interesting, the messages that you can get if you're open to it, if you will allow yourself to be open to those messages. So yeah, those are, you know, that Bible study is interesting to do it as a Bible study. And yes, you can get into the verses of the, you know, the point of the story where they are at, and learn a little bit about the way that things were done in the olden days. Like I had a question about, you know, watching the series. I'd never really thought about it because I've watched it for years, you know, seen a lot of the different series, you know, first, second, third, you know, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is how many times I had missed the whole thing of when they would walk into the room or walk out of the room, they would kiss the doorway. So I went searching for that to find out why they would kiss the doorway. And supposedly there is a parchment, piece of square parchment paper, and that is built into the doorway of some Jewish homes that has written on it one of the blessings from God that is given to the people of Israel in Deuteronomy. So I found that interesting to learn, and I would not have ever questioned that unless I'd seen the series where when they leave the room, they kiss the doorway. You know, basically it's a kissing the doorway. You know, we always hear the story of the Passover, understand that story, but I'd never, really thought about the whole kissing the doorway thing. So that was something that I thought was rather interesting to learn a little bit more about. And that came about because of watching the series. And learning things is never a bad thing. At least I don't think it is. I know my kids would have argued with me at one point, but I'm one of those people. I like to learn about things as I go and have this wealth of knowledge in the back of my head that I may never use, but at least I satisfied my curiosity to find out what it was about. So yeah, that has been something that I've found very interesting and fun to learn. And I'm surprised that a lot of people, don't like to learn more things about what's going on around them. Well, folks, I think I have yammered on long enough, talking about nothing here and everything. Had a good rant. Let's see. Don't know what else to tell you. Oh, the sale. Today is the last day of the sale for the bags that are 50% off. And from there, I will pull some of the bags, probably most of the bags off the market, off the website, my Etsy shop, and waiting for a new set of bags to be put up, which I am currently working on. All right, guys, that is it. I will see you again soon. Everybody have a great week. Be kind to one another. Bye.